So there are four Muslim women sitting in this panel. Two are wearing hijab, two choose not to wear a hijab. So we come in all sizes, shapes, and colors, and with different ideas about how we look at Islam, what ideology we follow, and still try to do what we do.
Also, when I started to protect Muslim and minorities' rights in Georgia, we have pro-Russian groups in Georgia. They started to fighting against me, and I am one of the person from NGO and from media who use special security in Georgia.
Wow.
Of course, it was very hard and very difficult for me to live under the security service.
You see hijabi, non-hijabi Muslim female photographers or videographers for like big tournaments like the Africa Cup of Nations, the World Cup, and blah blah. And and they inspire you so much. Now for social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, people give you motivational messages about how they're able to surmount their challenges.
Hello and welcome to this very special program. We are coming to you from this beautiful city of Cologne in Germany. I've spent a fascinating week here trying to understand the diversity and multicultural aspect of Germany. And to brief you, it was more about the Muslim life in Germany. It is not just me, but there are few others global participants from different parts of the world who tried to understand how diverse and multicultural Germany is and if Germany has a Muslim problem. Here with me, I have a few participants from this program that we all took part in. I'm not just going to talk about only Germany, but also being Muslim and being minority in different parts of the world. To my right, please introduce yourself. There is this beautiful young German woman.
Yeah, my name is Shema. Okay. My name is Shema. I'm 26 years old. I'm currently a student here in Germany, and I've basically lived here my whole life. I was raised here. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And you speak perfect English. And Samira, how about you?
Hello, I am Samira Bayramova. I am from Georgia. I work television as a co-host. Also, I work ethnic and religion minorities rights in Georgia, especially women and girls. So I have a different profile because we have a lot of social and political issues and problems. Why is that? Me and my colleagues, we are trying to solve together.
Yes. Titi, it's been a privilege to know you for the past 1 week and to hear what wonderful work you're doing. And since our audience, they don't know that you are actually one of the first or very few broadcasters from the minority Muslim group who are in Ghana, and you are also on government-run television. And it reminds me of me being a Muslim in India and how I started off my career as an anchor and a journalist.
Absolutely. And I did mention the day we did a round of introductions how much you inspired me because, you've gone way ahead and it makes it easier for some of us when you have an example already ahead. And so my name is Maltiti Sadick. I'm from Ghana. I'm a broadcast journalist on Ghana's television, which is GTV. I'm a co-host of the morning show, and I'm one of two, three, very few covered women on national TV. So that's what I can
Oh,
say
that's
about it. I
beautiful.
do a lot of
And
NGO work as
yeah,
well.
later in the show, I would love to know about your work and what it is to be a Muslim in Ghana. But let me first start with Shema. First of all, tell me what it is to be a young Muslim hijabi woman in Germany.
In Germany. Honestly, it's different for everyone. It really depends on the region that you're in. It depends how you were raised, where you were raised. And for me, especially, I was born and raised in Cologne, Germany. And the society overall is just very open-minded. It's multicultural, it's multi-religious, and it's not that everything was rosy and perfect here always at all times. I started wearing the hijab when I was around, I think, 14 years old, if I remember correctly. So over 10 years now. And obviously, I have faced my own difficulties with it. But as far as I can say, I've lived a more comfortable life than maybe fellow other hijabis here in Germany. because of maybe the school districts that I was in. I mean, growing up, especially during high school, I was, for example, the only hijabi in my entire school year for about, I think, 3 to 4 years until my friend actually showed up and, joined my year. But other than that, it's been okay. Let me put it like that in conclusion.
That's right. That's beautiful what you said. My question was that do you think it's becoming easier for Muslims in Germany, because this is about 50 years ago when especially Turkish people from Turkish origin, they started coming to Germany for work, and they were called guest workers. Now you may be perhaps the third generation, if I'm not wrong, and
Yeah.
I have just come back from Berlin, where half the population of that city is perhaps Turkish.
Yeah.
So you think it's getting better with time, or is it more difficult because of the rise of right wing?
Mhm. It truly depends. It also keeps fluctuating. Sometimes I think it's getting better because in a lot of workspaces, I now see a lot of hijabi women. I see a lot of Muslims, and therefore it's also obviously easier for us and more peaceful for us. Sometimes when I look at the parties that are in our parliament, for example, I get a little worried, if I'm honest. But overall, I'd say it does get better, and I hope it only will get better.
Right. I have a few more questions, perhaps a little inconvenient questions for you that I will ask later in the discussion. Samira, let me come to you. You come from a very small country of about, what, 3 million people? Is that correct?
Yes.
3 million people.
3.7. Yes.
3.7, so
Yes.
just about 4 million people you have. Tell us, I mean, when I think of Georgia, I don't even think about Georgian Muslims because they are, so few in numbers. Tell us what problems Georgian Muslims or Azerbaijani Muslims they face in Georgia, and also what problems do you face as a Muslim in Georgia?
Mhm. In general, it is difficult to become minority in majority. Also, Georgia, yes, Georgia is a tolerance country. You can find here a lot of mosque, church, synagogue together, but it is not enough. We have a great law, constitution, but of course, reality is different. Not same.
What different?
For instance, you have right to build mosque, but in reality, you have not right. For instance, if you are just a Muslim, if you need a high religion education, you can receive the same education in Georgia. You have to go some Muslim country to receive education. And if you will back to Georgia, it will be makes problem for you. And our Georgian government says that you are just control under as a country, and maybe you are agent in Georgia. So
You are an agent,
yes, you are agent.
like a foreign agent.
Yes, same. Of course. So I think also we have discrimination problem. You can't find just a Muslim woman with hijab in a public sector.
You can.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't. You can't.
You cannot find a hijabi woman in
Uh,
Georgia.
No, you can't find
Yeah,
hijabi woman in
but not
Georgia,
in
but
jobs.
but in jobs in public sector and
Right.
state sector, it makes problem. We have also complain about religion discrimination. For instance, where I am coming from Marneoli, where I lived 90% Muslim, 10% Christian. Our local government divide just 10,000 jail. It's maybe 3,000 euro for 90% Muslim, but house million jail just is to 100,000 euro for 10% Christian community. So our just mayor said that it is equal. It is not discrimination, but it is real discrimination. Also, we appealed Georgian court. The first level court just said that yes, it was a discrimination. But second level, court says that it is not a discrimination. Why is that? This is one of the case from Georgia about this discrimination. We sent a European court, but Georgian now this judge not works the first level of a court. Why? Because she said that it was discrimination.
So it's a difficulty, you are saying, not in just terms of getting a job, but even in the courts, you don't feel like you are being heard properly. Maltiti, tell us more about the Muslims of Ghana. It's not every day that I meet a woman from Ghana, that to a public woman, a woman who represents perhaps, women, Muslims, people from Ghana. Tell us more about that.
For my case in Ghana, fine, Ghana is about 20% Muslim, is a Christian dominated country, but it still operates on a constitution that says that the country is secular. But during our conversations, you've said some things that have sprung up that most of the time when there's a majority, it becomes a default. So when the minority religion is being talked about, they say don't bring religion here. But if it's the majority religion, they don't treat it like a religion. So practice what the majority religion is practicing and see it as normal. But if you want to practice yours and you're not even asking others to join, then it's kind of a problem. Are we giving you too much freedom? Are these people, if you're not careful, they'll take over, they'll become this and that? We have a chief imam who tries to unify all the sects under Islam and also be able to have communication, collaboration with the Christian community. And this chief imam is over 100 years old. Our worry is that when he dies, what's going to happen? Because it has to rotate. And, just like in the Muslim world across the world, you hear people who feel that the sects of Muslims are not the right ones. Should it go to a Shia? Should it go to an Ahmadi? Should it go to a Sunni? We hear some of these tensions that are coming up, and that may be the worry for the Muslim community. But on the other hand, of freedom, I think that generally we understand ourselves. You can see Muslims spread prayer mats in front of a Methodist church on the street and have their salah. You see Muslims and Christians exchange food and gifts on Eid and Christmas. We dress Muslim on Fridays. We wear what we wear to mosque or to work and all of that. For Muslim women on TV, not so much. As I mentioned, when I began, we're just two Muslim women looking covered on television because, bosses at work would be like, oh, take that hideous thing away. And some will tell you that for one TV audition I went to, then they told me, the HR told me, I want to make you beautiful. I want to wear you a wig, do you? And I said,
And without the hijab.
Without
The
the
beauty comes without the hijab.
yes. And I said, well, I don't think this masks my intellectual capabilities. I'm very capable. I've done this job in radio for 5 years. I've done reports. I've been awarded the best upcoming young journalist in Northern Ghana. And I had a hijab whilst going through the floods, while going to look for the women in the villages to interview them. So it doesn't do anything. She said, we want you to look beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did not get that card for that TV
You did not
job.
get
No,
that.
I did not. I had to be able to have my veil. And sometimes I feel like the minority still needs the majority to understand the
Yeah.
situation. I went for a reality TV program and I didn't go with my hijab. I said, you know what? It's enough. This is what I'm cut for. My father said, look, leave the north, go to Accra, go and be in the big leagues. But your hijab is a problem. So what are you gonna do? I said, you know what? Maybe I should just pick my sister's wig and go. I went for the audition, and this media woman who is like, excellent in media, she said, what did you say your name is? I said, my name is Maltiti Sayida. She said, you're Muslim. I said, yeah. She said, why do you have this hideous wig on your head? Where's your scarf? And my scarf was in my bag, and I took it out. So she said, why are you not wearing a scarf? I said, because it looks like it's impossible. You are all not wearing. I see a Muslim woman on TV called Rashida. She's not wearing the scarf. And she said, no, wear the scarf. Take off that hideous wig. And that was it.
So two questions. First of all, is it really important for you to wear a hijab? Let's say if you were given two choices, whether to assimilate in the society as like regular people from Ghana or wear your identity the way you feel that you should, which one would you pick? One, and two, is it easier for people who do not look like Muslims in Ghana, who are not visible Muslims?
Absolutely. For the men, I say they always cheat us because you, you can never tell a man is a Muslim man till you hear a Yusuf or a Sadiq or a Rashid, as it goes. But yeah, it's easier when you're not in a veil, if you want to be on television, in the media, than you are. And yeah, I made that choice because I thought that the other way I could have been identified was my name, because Muslims around the world, you use Arabic names that could easily jump at somebody.
Sayida.
Sayida. So even if the hijab was not on, Muslim sisters are still going, you know what? We can get to be on TV. Because there was this, zeal to break the stereotype that Muslims are not intelligent, or, they should just belong in some corner group. They are not exposed to good stuff in life and all of that. So that was what was fueling me to still go without the hijab.
Wow.
But alhamdulillah, I was able to look how I look. And today, lots more young women are reading news on television with the
We
hijab.
perhaps need a lot more
I
of you,
know.
not just in Ghana, but in India, in Georgia, and also in Germany. So there are 4 Muslim women sitting in this panel. 2 are wearing hijab, 2 choose not to wear a hijab. So we come in all sizes, shapes, and colors, and with different ideas about how we look at Islam, what ideology we follow, and still try to do what we do. Shema, I would like to ask you a question on, do you think, I mean, you were, of course, not born when 9/11 happened, um, or perhaps you were a young child.
I was actually not born.
You were not born. So
No, I was actually born. I was very young. I was
very
like
young,
about
right?
2
So you
years
wouldn't
old.
know.
Yeah.
But then this is a phenomena which people like me have
Yeah.
observed post 9/11 world, that not just there are people from, let's say, majority communities, especially Christians in Christian majority communities, who are trying to be more Christian, but also Muslims trying to look more Muslim. For example, there are many women in Turkey who earlier, although Turkey has a very complicated past and history around, hijab. So I'm not going to go there because that's going to then, prolong this discussion. What I want to ask you is that, do you think the younger generation in Germany is trying to look more Muslim, like own up to their identity as a Muslim? And is this some kind of a hindrance, a difficulty in bringing 2 communities together?
Yeah. I'd say definitely yes. It is a difficulty sometimes, especially when, for example, you apply for a job that is more that has the majority of non-Muslims, or is just dominated in non-Muslims or Christians, and it's just very difficult to get a job there. I was actually surprised when I was able to get an apprenticeship somewhere for a couple of weeks, because I thought, you know what, maybe I'll get it, maybe I don't. But I didn't want to hide my identity anymore because we've done it for such a long time, also here in Germany. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put my picture on there. I'm just going to show up as I am. And for a while, there were just a random example. There were also women who were afraid to wear, long gowns or skirts. There would wear jeans or other kind of pants just to fit into a society or look more like them, even though they were wearing the hijab. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do that. I just started wearing skirt. I started liking dresses. I'm not going to change myself up. And surprisingly, sometimes authenticity gets you to a lot of places. It gets you very, very far. You just have to be confident sometimes. You just have to show who you are and stand behind yourself.
So I don't want this discussion to be focused around hijab. Frankly, what I really wanted was to understand whether you feel that you are a part of Germany, that you feel you are part of the so-called mainstream, and 2, are you able to do what you want to do in life, whether with a hijab or without a hijab? I don't want to make it more about how women or men appear than how represented they feel in terms of jobs. So tell me, even if you are a hijabi woman, or let's say your friends who don't wear hijab, and they are Muslims and they form about 6-7% of Germany, which is like 50% of those are from Turkish origin.
Yeah.
That these numbers I have learned over the course of last 1 week. So tell me, let's say if you apply for a job, and with your like Muslim name, even if you don't wear a hijab,
Yeah.
you have like Maltiti said that you have an Arabic name, right? What are the chances of you getting the same job that your otherwise
Yeah.
German Christian women or men will get?
It is more difficult. I won't sugarcoat it. It's definitely more difficult because you get like the things like you just get selected out as soon as they read your name. Sadly, very sadly, I think it got better over the course of time, especially over the last couple of years. But when what I could see from maybe 10 years ago when I was still a teenager and I had other people in my life that were a little bit older, were applying for jobs, you could definitely see that it was more difficult for them. But it doesn't mean that it was completely erased from the society. So just by the name, you definitely just get swiped out of the program. Yeah.
You should be surprised. Like India, Muslims in India have been living here for hundreds of years, as old as India is. Muslims have been living there, but still there is a, a phobia around, especially people who look like Muslims. I mean, not that if they didn't look like a Muslim, it would become easy for them, but perhaps a little less difficult. Like right now in India, we have more than 200 million Muslims, but then there are zero women who can appear with a hijab on screen reading news or doing other stuff, at least on television.
Yeah.
Alternate media has given space to perhaps one or two, but that's also pretty much rare. Also, it is almost impossible to, let's say, walk in as a hijabi woman in a job interview and managing to get that job. Also, there is a lot of violence against Indian Muslims. There have been cases of multiple lynchings, discrimination at the governmental and non-governmental level. So it's increasingly becoming very difficult. Samira, tell me about your story. When you are not just a broadcaster, somebody who appears on screen, but also who is an activist. And for Georgian Muslims, you work, for their concerns and their interests. Um, how difficult has it been for you to be a woman, a Muslim, a Georgian, and trying to advocate for the rights and freedoms of the minority group?
In general, if you have several identity, of course it is difficult. In Georgia, a woman girls' lives, it is not easy. We are just fighting their rights. We are just fighting gender equality in Georgia. In Georgia, just man states that we are Caucasus man. Also, we have huge, large right than a woman. A woman have to in kitchen very interesting politic and social life and something. Also, we have early marriage problem, domestic violence issues. We have huge education problem. I think that everything coming from education because in Georgia, no one on the Muslim peoples in general or Georgians, we have huge education problem. We have problematic education system in Georgia. Of course, it is also very difficult for me to work in my community even.
Even within the
Yes,
community?
yes, of course,
Mm.
because just man and woman said that why you are so active. Maybe just if you're married and to have children,
Yeah.
it is not necessary work, just social and political activism in your life. Also, I have a lot of supporters from Georgia, Muslim, Christians. I have huge support. So they appreciate my work in my community. So also, I think now country main problem is
Can you tell us a little more about your story? How difficult it was for you to do things that you do? Also, why it is important for you to do what you do?
of course, it was at first for me difficult because also I am coming from a village, a small region, ethnic and minorities region. Also, I was not ready for everything. I thought that people are very great and beautiful, everything. Just I didn't just think about problem. I thought that everything will. Why that not was everything same? Uh, when I just choose professional law, of course, it was difficult in my family, in my society. Why you just chose law? Or why you don't didn't choose just became a teacher, became a doctor? Law, it is not your
Like
job.
safe professions, which
Yes,
are safe.
yes, yes, as a profession. Of course, I am coming from Azerbaijan community. I didn't know Georgian language, so I started to learn Georgian language in Georgia. It was my first difficulty because we have integration and language barrier in Georgia. It is our first difficulty. The second, of course, I had any discrimination facts from Georgian. In Georgia, sometimes Georgian people um, call us Tatar.
Which is
Tatar, just if you're Muslim, they are just saying you're Tatar because I don't know in history happened something from Persian government. Why is that they are calling Muslims as Tatar? So, uh, of course, some people also say that why you just live in Georgia, you're Azerbaijani, why you didn't live in Azerbaijan, why you are you not going to go Azerbaijan and other country because they are Muslim? But I born in Georgia. I love my country. I don't think anything just without Georgia. Also, when I started to protect Muslim and minorities' rights in Georgia, we have pro-Russian groups in Georgia. They started to fighting against me, and I am one of the person from NGO and from media who use special security in Georgia.
wow.
Of course, it was very hard and very difficult for me to live under the security service because they wanted to kill me. Why you just complain in court Muslim rights? Why you just talking about equal rights? You are not a Christian. You are not Georgian. You have not same right. Why you just fighting same right in Georgia? But I have a lot of Georgian Christian friends than Muslim and Azerbaijani friends who support me in Georgia.
Wow. I mean, this story doesn't surprise me at all. In India, if Muslims question and they want perhaps equal rights for themselves or freedoms for themselves, they are also called, their patriotism is questioned and they're called Pakistanis. So this story I've heard before. This happened in Georgia, back home in India. It's not very different. Maltiti, to you, um, now tell us, what future do you see for Muslims, not just in Ghana, but in Africa in general? Also, is it becoming more difficult with time, or you think it's easier? And we're just counting mostly women in public life like you, but I also want to understand women who don't have high profiles and who still have the rights to get jobs and get educated and become part of the development story of Ghana and Africa in general.
Well, thank God for social media, I would say. Um, they say there are several ways to kill a cat. There are several doorways to one destination. And so if it's not television, you're able to get to the mainstream media, you use social media. What's positive in Ghana and in Africa that I see is a lot more women and are inspired by what they see on social media. And so you see hijabi, non-hijabi, Muslim female photographers or videographers for like big tournaments like the Africa Cup of Nation, the World Cup, and blah blah. And and they inspire you so much. Now for social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, people give you motivational messages about how they're able to surmount their challenges. From where I come from, Northern Ghana, there are lots of women who are in the NGO space because for Northern Ghana is very conservative. So there's this very traditional, like Samira said, your place is in the kitchen. Before you become a politician, you must be married. They skew whatever the Quran says or whatever Islam says in a whole different way. They marry off young girls before their age. But with the inception of the non-governmental organization supported by, funds, donors, and blah, blah from around the world, gradually they're breaking that. So you know a woman like Samira who is known for ending child marriage and phenomenal work. Her team hears anything about, they're giving this girl away, they quickly go there, they bring the social work, welfare workers, they bring the police, and then they end it there. And people are punished. And so because of that, it gradually is deterring others, like men who just feel like, women are just an object. You're supposed to just submit to me because Islam says submit. So do whatever I want you to do without complaining. So thank God for social media. We do a lot of our activism there. Sometimes activism may not sit well with the TV station you work for. And so you have to distance yourself and then use social media, which is a very powerful tool. So I think that gradually is becoming better for African women. We see them in UN, we see them in African Union. Yes, we see Nigerian women, Morocco women, in different political spheres of life. And the good thing about it is that most of them are married, even though there's nothing wrong if they are not married. But the notion that they won't be able to submit to any man because they are in a higher position is something that is gradually waning. I must still say that traditionally there's still fear of accomplished women
Yeah.
from men.
Such a lovely thought that
Yeah.
is, and it's kind of comes as a surprise to me that women can be oppressed and feel persecuted and within their own community. So it's not just about the majority community persecuting the minority, but there is a fight within the community as well. My last question to you, Shema. We saw the moment after October 7, and we saw what unfolded in Germany. I don't know how controversial it is for you to talk about that, but do you think it was difficult to be on the side of Palestinians during that time? And did it put some kind of a moment of crisis before you, that being a German and also being a Muslim, a Turkish Muslim, because the sentiment was overwhelmingly in favor of Palestinians, especially the victims, thousands of them being killed. Um, I just want to understand, has Germany moved on and the German Muslims have moved on from that moment? And if you can share, how difficult was that?
It was, first of all, very shocking to see the kind of outbreak of whatever is going on there. And here in Germany, it was kind of like a wake up call to a lot of Muslims. And it was just sad to see how many, for example, people who I would say are German and are safe, or who I would feel safe with, suddenly take the opposition in that case, and suddenly couldn't understand why we were so firmly standing beside the Palestinians. And in some cases, other people did surprise me that they took the Palestinian side and stood beside us and helped us demonstrate or go to certain events for Palestinians. And it's still something for me personally that lives kind of what the young people would say rent free in my mind. Is everything? It's every time in the back of my mind whenever I go shopping for something and something is boycotted and I know that I don't buy it, or it's also like that for my family. But I do see a slight decrease in people who have that right in front of their eyes, or remember whatever is still happening there, which is kind of upsetting to see, but it's always good to raise awareness.
And the fact that the government did not allow many of the
Yeah.
protests and in fact persecuted a few people who did take part
Yeah.
in protest.
That was a very hard watch for me, honestly. It was also very shocking to me, because it suddenly felt like we were taking 10 steps back instead of 2 steps forward. Um, like I said, I just saw one or two videos, and I just put my phone down for a few minutes because I was just in such a shock that it was still happening today in Germany. And those were like normal German citizens who were threatened to be taking away their citizenship. And for a few seconds, the thought that it could happen to anyone crossed my mind. But then I also thought about how many we are, and that they can take down a little minority that is loud and will still be loud even after everything that happened.
Thank you very much, ladies, for the excellent work that three of you are doing. And keep fighting the good fight. And hopefully, we are just creating a better, more peaceful, more accommodative place for all of us. Thank you very much for the audience for watching this program. Goodbye.